If Atiku doesn't win, they will look for a way to resolve the issues between themselves. So, but as it stands now, that problem will keep lingering. There's nothing that can stop that problem from continuing.
All right. We'll look at our next story quickly, and that's Nnamdi Kanu. So the chairman of Igbo. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back, please. All right, good to have you back. We're going straight to our next story, which is on the Nnamdi Kanu. The chairman of Igbo Foundation, Humphrey Ojiako, raised issues concerning Southeast and Mazen Nnamdi Kanu during a press briefing held at FCT Council of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Abuja. Ojiako said the Biafra agitators should keep their mission peaceful and shun any form of violence or armed struggle, no matter the temptation or provocation. The federal government should end the Nnamdi Kanu saga by allowing political solution in order to rest the case. The government should take necessary measures to obey the rule of law. The Igbo is deeply worried by this growing insecurity granted no state is spared in the southeast. It is noteworthy that the incident is worse in Ebonyi and Imo states. He said, beyond gravity of insecurity, the two state governments have also been accused by some of their own people of being responsible for perpetrating much of the insecurity through reckless deployment of Ebubago security outfit for politics and other acts of complicity and complacency. Coincidentally, too, Ebonyi and Imo are the only two states in Southeast where the proposed regional outfit Ebubago is said to have taken off. Igbo is not affiliated with any political party or tendency. Its sole interest and intention are to converse for the restoration of peace, security, and stability in the Southeast zone. There have been reports from a reliable source that Ebubago is responsible for many of the abuses and extrajudicial killings of innocent citizens, especially the youths. Now, according to Ojiako, he said the establishment of Ebubago was to complement the convention of police and to serve as community policing outfit to ensure better security of the life and property in the Southeast zone. But he said the reverse has been the case. Regrettably, the reverse appears to be the case, as the Ebubago outfit, both in Ebonyi and Imo State, seem to have become more of the problem than a solution to the growing insecurity in the zone. Iwobibo notes that from all evidence available to it, Ebubago is being deployed as a political tool against opponents. Several examples of such abuses are available in a public space. So they are saying that they are urging the Inspector General of Police to call the police command of Ebonyi and Imo State to order and compel them to put a stop to any excesses of Ebubago in the two states, investigate all abuses and extrajudicial killings by alleged Ebubago operators. Barsamarachi, two issues they raised were primarily the security situation in the southeast, and also they also talked about the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. Let me start from the issue of Nnamdi Kanu now. On the 13th or thereabouts this month, Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers applied for a political solution, wrote to President Muhammad Buhari seeking for a political solution. About 7 days afterwards, the judgment, the appeal court justices gave the judgment to say that he should be discharged for there are no grounds. Last week, the Federal High Court in Omaha also gave a ruling on that, asking them literally to return him to Kenya or let him go because there are no grounds. In fact, they actually gave him a 500 million award for...
They'll never be paid.
Oh, this will never be paid? Okay. I don't know about that. But let's look at this critically side by side right now. This is another group, just like several other groups and individuals has been asking the federal government, let this guy go, let him go. Let's talk about something else. But Malami seemed to have a different view altogether. He's accused him saying he's a security threat, national security threat. He's a flight risk and all of that. Looking at the federal government and Nnamdi Kanu's, those who are agitating for his freedom right now, do you think we can ever find a meeting ground for this? So maybe we can now, like they said, rest the case.
When you have people like Malami, they're already telling you something at the background, then you already know that you'll never find any solution to the problem. You have people that are supposed to be flight risk, and we are not seeing any risk in their flight. We have gotten to a point where the US now gives us security advice on our own soil. They will now tell us that Boko Haram are they want to attack the federal capital territory before the DSS or the SSS will swing into action. No, that is not what we expect as a nation. This Nnamdi Kanu's case has been overflowed. We have a federal government that does not obey court orders. As far as I've seen, I've witnessed over time, President Buhari's government finds it very difficult. Their body language when it comes to court orders that are being given makes you to understand that these people do not have any respect for the judiciary. With the right judgment that has been delivered by the judiciary recently, the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court sitting in Abia State, I believe we should have had an end to this Nnamdi Kanu issue. This Nnamdi Kanu's issue is not something that we should come here to talk about over and over again. If the federal government do what they are supposed to do, there should be an end to this issue. If you want to analyze the Nnamdi Kanu's issue, of course, I know he's someone that is unequivocal, he speaks his mind. Sometimes he even attacks the federal government verbally and all. He refers to Nigeria as a zoo. I know that, yes, we are used to that language already. But in order to prove to someone that you are more powerful, that you can hold him down, you shouldn't exceed your the authority that keeps you in power. Because the constant disregard of court's judgment by the federal government goes to show that the federal government wants this nation to be plunged into anarchy. Because when people feel the courts can no longer protect their rights, it will make them to take laws into their hands. And at the stage we are in this country, we do not want people to start taking laws into their hands. It will not augur well for this nation. It will not be something that we can see. Nnamdi Kanu's case is a very fragile and very critical case. Even though you have so many people coming out, people of Igbo descent coming out to condemn him, deep down in their hearts, they still have this support for this person. That's the reason why you see constant sit at home. Because if the people don't want that sit at home, he cannot hold. No matter the weapons or the people that are made to enforce those sit at home. So it shows you that there's support for these people. For recent times, you've had different groups, Ohanese Ndibo. Now you've had this
Igbo
foundation
Igbo.
coming out. Some will have the Umu Ada very soon, and the Umu Kri will have several groups. Because me, I'll still create my group to come out and speak for Nnamdi Kanu because it's getting out of hand. So the federal government has gone on appeal. But is that what is supposed to happen? The judges passed a judgment, and the next thing you see, one was transferred. So the body language of the federal government even frightens the judges to do what they are supposed to do. But we'll get to see what happens at the Supreme Court. For this thing they are calling out, asking Buhari to interfere politically or whatever it is, there's nothing that will happen. You know, Buhari has said it in time past that it's not in his hand. It's in the hands of the court. But the court is trying to act, and he's still coming out to play his own role.
And that is what makes a mockery of the whole scenario here. You said you will not interfere, that's President Buhari here, that he will not interfere with the courts, and whatever the court wants to do, that's okay. But while you're saying you don't want to interfere with the judicial process, now the judiciary have stand up to say this is illegal. We have an extradition law that is in place. So you cannot now use rendition to bring back somebody forcefully. That is against the law. And you know that. Now, Balame talked about international diplomacy as factors to consider. Was international diplomacy considered here? He claimed Nnamdi Kanu was a fugitive hiding in another country. But then there are laws that he's a lawyer, he should know better. But looking at all of this again, Nnamdi Kanu, not just from Malamine, a lot of quarters have said, he incited a lot of people into violence that led to the death of so many persons. In fact, he's also been accused of being behind the reason why the Southeast security in the Southeast have degenerated to where it is today. The question we're asking, maybe you can help us to find an answer to this, is simple. If that is the case, if that is the biggest issue with Nnamdi Kanu, that he's going to run away, that he's not going to, there is a threat to national security and all of that, is there not something that this government can do legally to ensure that we bridge the gap and let this man go?
Well, as it stands, the government is not ready to do anything to let this man go. Nnamdi Kanu's rendition from Kenya is just because Kenya does not have, I believe Kenya and Nigeria, you can't even take away anything. They are on par when it comes to international issues. Why didn't they take him when he was in England? They should have gone to England to bring him back to Nigeria. There are countries you cannot try what they did. You cannot even try it. You won't dare it. No matter who you are, you cannot go to that country and remove somebody without maybe interfacing with the authorities there. But you find Nigerian government severing international treaties and or going to bring somebody from there when our laws are against such rendition. And the court is even giving a pronouncement as regards what you've done. And you see that the Attorney General of the Federation will come out and say what he likes. Because sometimes Malami is someone I respect so much. I respect Malami because if you read Malami's books, you would think this man there's wisdom. The gods have blessed this man with wisdom. But in acting now, it is like the gods only bless this man with wisdom to write books, not wisdom to act. Or I don't know whether it's the APC factor that is affecting him, because whenever anybody steps into APC, then their actions is different from what we know them to be, or the beliefs that we tend to know them to hold. When it comes to Nnamdi Kanu's case, the only thing that can save the day is for him to be cautioned. Then you let him to go. If he wants to leave the country, allow him to leave the country in peace. If he wants to stay in the country, he should mind his utterances and all. But at the long run, what is expected is for the federal government to call for a referendum. when that referendum is called, if you have a greater percentage saying that Biafra should not hold, then we'll know that whatever agitation Nnamdi Kanu is carrying is just for his personal interest, or is trying to create and cause anarchy in the land. But if you have not called for that referendum, you've not taken the necessary steps, but you want to use force to make sure that this man doesn't air out his views, then we won't have an end to the problem.
Well, all we can pray is to have somewhat of a meeting ground, but is the federal government willing to make a move to bridge the gap? Because Kanu's people have also written him to say, let us have a political solution to this. But instead of a political solution, even the judiciary is being abused in the process of all of this. But let's get to have a conversation about security. Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey.
Okay, that's another.
Ambassador of the Republic of Turkey to Nigeria had at Bayraktar at the 99th National Day commemoration of the Republic of Turkey in Abuja said the defense contract signed between our countries, that's Nigeria and Turkey, last year marked a historical record. Taking this opportunity, I am proud to announce that two of our flagships defense industry platforms, Bayraktar TB2 drones and T-149 attack helicopters, are set to arrive in Nigeria. We are confident that new Turkish defense products will support the efforts of the Nigerian government and contribute immensely to the peace, prosperity, and security of fellow Nigerians, Bayraktar said. Bayraktar also pointed out that the Turkish government is also expecting the Nigerian government to reciprocate its legitimate security concerns by taking the necessary steps against strong presence of heinous fatal terrorist group in Nigeria. Remaining as a sole obstacle hindering our bilateral relations to develop further, we called Nigeria not to let terror groups undermine our excellent ties by allowing these terrorist groups to fund their illegal arms and activities by generation of revenues in this country. On the bilateral relations between both countries, Bayraktar said he was very proud that 2021 and 2022 had been a period of great achievement in the bilateral relations between Turkey and Nigeria. Now, these mutual high-level visits have provided the opportunity to underline our shared goal of strengthening our bilateral ties in every field, especially in terms of commerce, defense industry, energy, construction, manufacturing, healthcare, education, tourism, and culture. With its steady growth over the last decade and by emerging as an economic powerhouse in its region, Turkey expressed its readiness to share its development experience with African states to broaden and strengthen its cooperation in different areas. Today, Turkish business people, some of whom are present here tonight, are investing in numerous sectors, from fast-moving consumer goods to construction, from healthcare to transportation, from energy to agriculture. With the current pace of increasing commercial relations, he said, I am confident that we will soon achieve our target of $5 billion of bilateral trading volume with Nigeria, which remains as one of our top trading partners in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, I just want to stop there to look at this side by side. The U.S. literally is having their people leave the country. The UK, as a matter of cancelled flights going into Abuja, Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. And one of the biggest malls was said to have shut down. Though Jabi Lake is said to have reopened as of yesterday or thereabouts. Now, there are telltales that says there is a palpable concern for insecurity. We've had Lai Mohammed counter it to say even in Houston there are school shootings and all random killings and all of that. We've had other group even threatening the U.S. to say you guys are not being fair with all and all of that. In the midst of all of this, Turkey is sending us 2 drones and a helicopter to fight insecurity. Please, what message are we sending across with all the scenario before us right now?
You know, the message we are sending across is that as a nation, we are defenseless. As a nation, we need assistance, because if you look at the fight against Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations, we have not made significant progress. if you've had time to interact with some of our army officers and all the people at the center of the war, at the war front, if you hear them talk, you have, there's this pity. You just feel sad that these people have to go through all this, and it seems like the government of the day, the government that is supposed to care for them, do not even have their interest at heart. Well, for Turkey, bringing drones and helicopter to Nigeria, I just hope the drones and helicopter will be for our own interest. In that, these drones, you know, bringing drones monitor what happens in the country. So I believe they will use these drones. They will train our people on how to manage these drones. And there won't be anything in that drone to limit, what's it called, expose us as a nation to another nation. Because there are some things that needs to be taken. There are some steps that needs to be taken to caution the effects of some relationships that you enter. These drones are from Turkey, the helicopters are from Turkey. So to make it more Nigerian, we should know that there is nothing that will expose us to them or play us into their hands. While we are trying to fight insecurity, we shouldn't be trying to fight for our own sovereignty too. Because the nation is exposed. The people at the top are not doing what they are supposed to do. As a nation, what gadgets do we have to defend ourselves? If Nigeria is the one at the center of the war with Russia, I believe by now, maybe I'll be at your back with one chain and we are being dragged to one place to work in some factory or that, because I do not think we'll have the capacity to withstand some nations. In as much as we want to ensure that the nation prospers economically, if our security is porous, then those, no matter what you put in, no matter the infrastructures you put in to elevate the economy, of course, insecurity will ground everything. Insecurity grounds prosperity. In states like Borno and all, for places that the insurgency is at its peak, nothing is happening there. You just find soldiers there. So as a nation, if we want to move forward, the issue of security shouldn't be taken lightly. If it means we should buy ammunition, so much has been given into our defense. But we have not seen where what these monies have provided for us. If they are bringing drones and they say 2 helicopters, will it be enough to even tackle the issue on ground? Of course, it won't be enough. So in as much as we invest in the economy, we should invest in security. That's what we want as a nation. So many things have been granted in Abuja. Recently, we had people who have not been going to schools because they are scared of gathering. And they say the NYC, of course, the National Youth Service, despite the flood that happened in Bayelsa and some other states that they said they are canceling, part of the reasons why they have not gone to camp is because of the insecurity, the fear in so many quarters. Because people will not want to release their loved one, and at the end you start telling them tales, or they cannot account for what happened to their loved one. So as a nation, we should place more weight on the life of our citizens, tend to help our citizens protect their lives, because as it stands, we protect ourselves as opposed to what the federal government does to protect us as the state government.
There are too many issues to bite from all of this, but let's just quickly look at a follow-up on the same issue of insecurity that we're talking about. But this time, security advisory, we know that the US-UK governments did, give a security advisory to their people. However, a group is saying that no, this is destabilizing Nigeria. A coalition of civil society organizations under the aegis of patriotic non-governmental organizations in Nigeria calls all out the United States government over a call for its citizens to leave Nigeria, etc., on alleged planned terror attack on the Federal Capital Territory. The group's coordinator, Mr. Meka Akwobi, who presented the group's position in a press conference, said the elevated security risk led by the United States government was in bad faith. Mr. Akwobi said, without prejudice to time-honored social constructs, occasioned by persuasions, we hasten to state that the so-called security advisory by the US and UK government are distractive in form and destabilizing in content. In what has become a recurrent decimal, the US has continued to predict negative outcomes for Nigeria, of which the most telling was the collapse, if you like, the failure of the Nigerian state ahead of the 2015 general elections. More than 7 years after, their prognosis has fallen flat on its feeble feet. Similarly, aligned interests in America predicted that Africa, Nigeria inclusive, will be littered with corpses at the outbreak of COVID-19. But history and medical records show that the outcome has been the opposite, with their consequences for America and her allies. Now, the group went on to say that for the avoidance of doubts, the U.S. is preparing for elections, and in its customary with the so-called world police, nations considered not to be in tune with her aggressive dispositions are often whipped into line. Having regard to her patriotic role as contemporary watchdogs, we wish to inform the public that, as always, the Democratic Party wants to conduct the U.S. Democratic Party here, wants to continue in the usual opportunistic pastime of using the tool of destabilization to gain or retain power in the case of the subsisting government. We wish to raise the following proposals. Why is this misguided, this misdirected security advisory coming few months before elections in most parts of the country? Is it a coincidence that a few days after the suspicious alert, a similar cul-de-sac, literally speaking, was visited on South Africa? He said, whereas Nigeria leads the way in the West African sub-region, South Africa is unarguably the biggest player in the Southern Africa geographical construct. Mr. Kwobi went on to say that it is pertinent to note that the said alarm underpins international politics, psychological warfare, scorched earth policy, or gunboat diplomacy. This press statement, he said, has become urgent and compelling to warn and alert the public that plans are afoot to re-engineer the prediction of disintegration. This is therefore an auspicious moment for us as Nigerians to come together and fight against insecurity, criminality, and other forms of threats to national security and corporate existence. He said, if anybody has any grievances, they are enjoined to, as a matter of patriotic national duty, bring it to the attention of security agencies whose duty it is to act on behalf of the state. So may we not witness the day when, in the pursuit of our own interests, our dear nation will be used as a field of play. We must resist with the last drop of our Nigerian blood the temptation to live in panic, fear, and lack of confidence in the ability of our government to confront common existential threats. Now, I want to stop you because of our time. I need us to see if we can tackle one or two things from this narration. So, on one hand, I applaud the patriotism being displayed here. We know the history. We knew about Melinda Gates on CNN saying that they literally see corpses lying on the floor of on the streets of Africa during the COVID-19. At least that is quite recent. And of course, the 2015 prediction and all. Unfortunately, Goodluck Jonathan was able to step up to say no Nigerian blood is what any position he would desire. While all of this, we know, we agree there's been that. But going back to our last conversation of Turkey sending in drones and helicopters to help us fight insecurity at this time, and looking at that side by side with what this group is projecting, how do we begin to make sense of it that indeed there is no security risk? And how do we even believe that U.S. is just trying to destabilize Nigeria?
Well, the strength that the leader of this group used to pen down what you're reading now, he would have used just a little drop of that strength to tell the federal government to sit up. As a nation, it is visible to you that we have security threats here and there. The church was bombed in Ondo. I cannot count the number of suicide bombings that I've witnessed while I was in Jos. I cannot count. There was a time that Terminus, a bomb exploded in Terminus. Of course, part of the advisory is that somewhere in called Terminus, there will be a bomb blast. And that place is of high security risks too. In Abuja, it is as if the center has disintegrated. Check, there was Kuje prison was attacked. and inmates were released. The army was not there to do anything. And you're saying they are making predictions which are failing. In 2015, if you check the prediction that the US made, if the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, have decided to stand his ground and said that he would not accept the result of the election, you know what that would have put in for us as a nation. But he just let everything go and said he wasn't even going to challenge it in court. If Goodluck had stood against the election, maybe we wouldn't have been here today to talk about this issue, because it has sparked up crisis. There were people everywhere that are ready to stand up and fight. But that mere pronouncement that he doesn't want the blood of Nigerians to be spilled was what helped us to avert that impending doom. Now, over the years, as a nation, it is not by our power. I will tell you that it's been God that has been keeping us as a nation. Because if you look at what we are supposed to do as a nation to keep us safe and to keep us strong, to keep us from terrorist attack, we've not done enough. If you look at what other nations put in to ensure that they are safe, Nigeria has not done enough. If you look at people coming in from the borders, the unguarded borders, people that you don't even check. As we live here, you don't even know where the next man is from. You don't know if, of course, we don't have a passport. We don't have the national identity card. People are not going for it. So anybody can just come in and live in the nation. Anybody can go in and register for national ID, and he becomes a Nigerian. Except people coming in from other nations that are flying down to Nigeria. That's the people that are being checked. So there are lots of things that are happening that will make you feel like we have a security crisis in this nation. And you know, US can talk. They can say whatever they want to say. They've been saying it. But the actions they are taking now, that are removing their people from Nigeria, will make you to see that this thing they are saying is not just for saying sake. If you're saying that the US has been saying that nothing has been happening, why is it that the DSS came out a few days back to tell us that they've made some arrests? They've gone to raid some estates and they've found some of these criminal elements. Why are they taking actions after that advice? So the advice, anybody can come and say anything, but if somebody is saying something that you know is obvious, then it means that you need to sit up instead of you to repeat. It's not everything they respond to. Like Mohammed will just come out and open his mouth. Why? He wants to respond. He wants to, I don't want to say he wants to lie, but he wants to respond. We just come. You don't respond to anything. You take actions. Protect us. The only thing we want is for our lives to be protected. Because if these things happen, these people that are coming out to defend us, they will not be at the center of it. They already have their own security. Of course, nobody is saying anybody wants to attack us, or it's very difficult for somebody to go to their zone. There are so many hurdles that you cross. But for ordinary citizens, they are the ones at the center of this attack. What provisions have you made to secure them, instead of coming out to tell us to write epistle? This, like John's epistle, is even more than 1 Peter and 2 Peter. We are still on this verse. So let him come out, tell the federal government, do what you're supposed to do, and let us get out of this debacle as a nation.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Maracho Hurley. But our Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, deserves better than that statement. You agree?
Of course, of course.
All right.
Then he should do better than all those statements that he puts out in the public space too.
I'm sure he will. Just that we need to manage our language. You know what I mean?
No.
Well, that's been our show this morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Barrister Maracho, once again. It's always an honor to have you here. Thank you, everyone. But if you missed any part of the show, not to worry. Let's just continue the conversation on our social media platform. On Twitter, we're at Atlantic TV Net. On Facebook and YouTube, we're Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram, we're Atlantic TV Network. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Enjoy the rest of your week.